Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. In this week's show, we are going to recap Big Deal Pro 3. We are going to recap Fight to Win 176, headlined by Junny Ocasio versus Carlos Oliveira. We're going to talk a little bit about Quintet Fight Night 7 in Tokyo. We're going to preview SUG, Submission Grappling, Underground. What card number is that? 25. And we are going to talk about the Road to ADCC 2021. Got some new matchups announced for that. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, with the co-host
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Talking to that mic.
I know.
Let's not do the same thing 2 weeks in a row.
I try.
I fixed the audio last week for the most part. It was pretty good. Yeah. We got some fun matchups announced. We have, just before the recording, we found out that the Craig Jones and Hulk match, because Craig Jones broke his hand and he got taken out of that match this week. He got replaced by William Tackett, and that's a rematch from Subversive 4 back in 2020.
Yeah.
So we're going to preview that a little later in the show. And other news, pretty much it's just been like Road to ADCC, a lot of ADCC coverage. We're getting ADCC dates being announced, and overall just sort of gearing up to start to cover ADCC and ADCC trials.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I enjoy ADCC.
I love ADCC.
It's one of the best times of the year.
It's the best. It's the best year of every other year because it's just like super fun, super wild events where it's like, hey, it's a giant open tournament that you have to fight everyone to get this spot to win a bunch of money and prestige and make your entire grappling career off of this giant event. Yeah. Strap in. I love ADCC. And Mo's been talking about Mo Jassim, the head runner for ADCC, the event coordinator for ADCC 2019 and 2022. Actually announced or talked about on the live stream for ADCC. If you're not following live ADCC on Instagram, you should. That ADCC is now going to be even years.
Oh.
Which we're just like 2021 was not a thing, and we're just going to even years now. And I thought that's a really funny way to do that. I was like, oh, that makes sense. But why? Yeah, why would you go 2022, 2023? Like you're not gonna gain anything by shortening it down a year. Like take the year as a loss.
Yeah, but you don't want to take a year away either.
Well, that's what happened. We lost a year. So I in fact think like moving to even years now. Like, I think it's the best way to do it. I agree with that.
I think about it. Okay. Yeah.
You can disagree with me.
No, I had to think about it. I had to think about what year we were in for a second. Like, the whole, COVID times completely messed up how my brain works.
Just the COVID times, like BC and AD. Yeah. Before COVID and, like, after
Basically,
COVID.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I don't think I have any other news other than that, like, Tackett got pulled in, and he's now on that card, and that's exciting. Do you have any other news this week?
And Craig
Jones broke his fucking hand, and he gave you the little...
Which is weird that he has a boxing fracture, which is... It's a boxing fracture.
Yeah.
But where...
It's a boxer fracture.
Does he box?
He did at the Ultimate Fighter.
Did he say how he actually broke it?
I didn't really look into it. I just saw the picture of the broken hand, and I thought it was doing the OK symbol, and I was like, is this a joke, Craig Jones? And then it was like actually announced, and I went, oh, that's sad.
Well, then Craig Jones started posting all the jokes about it. So then I was like, is this a real thing or not a real thing?
And Craig Jones does like post a lot of jokes, and I was like, is it real? And then it was real, and I got sad. But now at least we're going to see Hulk, because Mo was talking about making a replacement for that match, I think yesterday when I watched the ADCC live stream on Instagram, because he was just talking, going through rules, just kind of answering questions. They're looking at doing, Mo's still kind of going to push for, another women's division or more stuff for the women this year, which is exciting.
So, yeah, the madness is that if you're, I forget how many kilograms. I just know if you're around like 135 and up, like it's 135 and up. So, like if I, for whatever reason, decide to throw my hat in the ring one day, like I could be going against like a 200 and something pound woman.
Or you just cut the weight. You just cut the weight.
I know. I would. Yeah. I would definitely cut to get under. But, like, if I walked...
It's under 60 kilograms and over 60 kilograms.
Dude, it's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I would love to see a third. So, Mo talked about, he goes... Yeah. And that was when we talked to Mo...
should be at least a middle ground
earlier, like, last year or something like that. He was like, that was the big thing. And then COVID happened. He's like, look, I don't know if I can push for any changes. Yeah. Because, like, we're just trying to get the event, like... running and everything's weird, and then now he's back on the table of like potentially making some changes, and that's exciting.
There just needs to like be a middle ground.
Yeah, like a 50, 67, or sorry, probably 30. In the middle, yeah.
Me trying to do conversion, I don't do the conversion well.
I'm not so good with the kilograms. So that's ADCC news. We're going to be covering ADCC. Really, this kind of kicks off the Grappling Rewind coverage for 2022 because we have trials for North America coming up in November. I'm going to go to that. I think we're all probably going to go to that. I'm going to do
That'd be
shitloads of
fun.
interviews. I
Yeah.
now have entire cases of camera gear that we can bring, and like I can give multiple cameras to the teams, and we can get some hopefully really cool coverage of ADCC trials.
That'd be awesome.
And then I'm going to West Coast trials, and then the day tickets are going. I'm buying ADCC tickets
Oh, I'm buying-
regardless of if we get credentialed like last year. I'm still going to buy tickets.
I'm buying ADCC tickets.
Yeah,
no matter
why
what.
wouldn't you?
It's Vegas anyway.
Buy ADCC tickets day one when they get announced because they are going in.
Oh, yeah.
They are going in tiers for
I
pricing.
saw that, which is complete.
Which is great.
I mean, it's great,
which is
but
great.
it's-
That means if you want to go and you want to go, and if you're a grappling fan,
Yeah, but it's gonna
you wanna
suck trying to get in.
No,
you know,
it's
trying to
not.
get in to buy tickets.
Day one,
Okay.
buy your tickets,
Okay.
and then we're good. I don't think I'm
Okay.
gonna sell it day one.
We'll see.
It's like 10,000 people.
True.
I'm good. I'm believing that I can get those floor seats day one.
You're getting floor seats.
That is my gift to my.
I-
Regardless, I got
dude,
credentialed
I'm
last
too
time,
sh-
and I had floor
I'm
seats.
too fucking short for floor.
Look,
Like I need like the first row.
We
like,
got
the
credentials.
first
I
time stuff.
still bought tickets last time because I still
Yeah.
had tickets. I was like, that was cool enough where I'm willing to. I want to pay the money to have those tickets.
Yeah.
Even if we don't get a credential.
Oh,
so,
I'm gonna go no matter what.
super amped
Plus,
for that.
it's Vegas. Vegas is fun.
I've never been to Vegas, so
You've never been to Vegas?
And that for ADCC will be my trip to myself. So
Okay.
that does it for news this week. Before we get too off the rails with our excitement for ADCC, which we can go on, which will be many shows this year that
Yeah.
I'm excited to have. Where do you want to start? Want to do Big Deal Pro 3, or do you want to start with Fight to Win? What do you want to do?
Let's do Big Deal Pro 3.
It sounds like a joke name when it,
It does,
translates.
it does.
There's a big deal Pro number 3. So let's
well,
move.
they're very excited about it. Is it stay the same name when it's translated into Portuguese?
Oh, it's like their big logo is Big
so
Deal
it's
Pro.
Not, yeah, so it's not. It's just the big fist.
So what do you want to start with? This want to start with the tournament, or want to start with the super fights?
We'll stay with. Let's do super fights. Why not?
Do super fights. We had Marcos Petro defeating Erich Munis via advance. A lot of like very close matches on this card.
The one thing that was annoying me was the breakup because the actual square is so small. They kept on like every single match kept on going off the mat, and then there kept on being penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty, and it was just like that just drives me crazy. Like the breaking up of it drives me crazy.
It was a
Like
lot. There was definitely a lot.
I
of
want
that
it to
this event.
flow. I want a match to flow, even if
Yeah.
it's going off the match. Just bring it back in and like
Do a fight to win. I was like, I went off. Push him back on.
Yeah.
Actually,
but-
we have a funny fight to win restart and some controversy in
Yeah.
one of the black belt matches we're gonna talk about when we get to fight to win.
Yeah.
So that one, and Erich Munis wins that via advantage. We have Bianca Basilio defeating Dulce Rosenthal via choke.
She dominated.
Look,
I mean,
Basilio looked
but-
good.
Yeah, she did. She did.
Bia Basilio looked good. Finishes like a choke from the back variation. Just all over Rosenthal, who's a new black belt, by the way, which is why I was unfamiliar with her.
She was on the last Big Deal Pro card.
Okay, we didn't
She was
cover
on-
that. That's
yeah,
why I
she
didn't,
was
that's why I
on
didn't see her.
2, and she did quite well on 2, which I think is why they brought her up to Bia. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
a tough
if
ask
you-
immediately.
And if you don't control her, she likes that crazy back and forth. I'm trying to think of
She
the.
can just put a pace on you. When
Yeah.
most people just have a very, very hard time kind of retaining the guard with her in and out passing style.
Oh,
and
yeah.
once she gets around you, like, she's really hard to kind of get off you.
Yeah,
In her top
you almost
position,
want to
transition to the
control
back.
her, but trying to like hold her down and control her, and
Especially in the beginning of the
and-
match.
oh, yeah,
And Dulce
definitely.
kind of tries that from the guard, but Bia just really, has very quick passing in this match, and then eventually gets to the back, and then gets to like the modified. It was kind of like a modified bow and arrow, like almost like
Yeah.
a suicide choke bow and arrow with the hands behind the head, and
Yeah.
she's low. Kind of,
Yeah.
It's like a collar choke from the back, essentially, is what it was. Great performance from Bia. Kind of to be expected, but I hope that we see more from Rosenthal, apparently, because, her first match in Big Deal Pro was awesome.
yeah, definitely.
So, next match, we had Erich Munis defeating Leandro Lemos via armbar. This was a neat finishing sequence.
Yeah, it was. And that's they referred to it as the, is it Bilal choke? Or
The balloon-
Bilal?
It's the Brazilian translation of a balloon sweep,
Yeah, it's a balloon sweep.
which is that which is, if you don't know what a balloon sweep is, it's awesome. It's that double overhead sweep with the legs.
He does it with his shins. Like he got basic, he had his shins on both sides of him, took him over his head. Which I've always been taught to put my feet on people's hips.
Yeah, if you're
And
not
then-
super athletic, that's the way normal people have to do it.
Well,
like they can't
and-
do it with the shins.
No,
low.
not with your shins, because then you're like holding someone to your shins and throwing them over.
Yeah.
And I would think that it would open you up for leg locks too, because your whole ankle is through at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you could land and grab.
I don't know.
I don't know.
He throws him over and
Yeah.
then immediately transitioned to the far side arm.
Yeah, and he had wrist control on both sides. Like he would grab the gi on both sides as he threw him over. So it wasn't like he could actually grab it.
Well, you can't scramble in any way. You land, you can't scramble out of it.
Scramble. That was what I was going. That was the word I was looking for Bia. And then I just realized it was scramble. She's very scrambly. Okay, let's move on.
Erich Munis has a great cross-side armbar there. And finishes Leandro with that. Igor Schneider defeats Ottavio Nalati 13-0. Really dominant, controlling points victory for Igor here. Not a whole lot other than 13-0 is a pretty definitive match. We had Isaque Bahiense defeating Servio Tulio 2-2 with 4-2 adds in favor of Bahiense?
Yeah.
I had that wrong in my notes. I had it as Servio. This was a lot of footlocks, and then there's one back and forth sweep, and then there's a series of essentially like entries and tech ups into near sweeps.
Pretty much.
And that was most of the match. There wasn't a ton of positional control from both guys. There were some really neat entries into things.
Yeah.
But overall, it was just a very sort of one of those more scrambly Isaque Bahiense matches, and Bahiense is able to take it. Is that right? For some reason, I thought Servio took that. I don't know why. No, Bahiense, never mind. I'm wrong about that. Yeah, because Bahiense was holding like the gold medal at the end of it. Yeah. That's correct. So yeah, Bahiense wins. He gets 2 near sweeps there and is able to come up, but never able to kind of settle, and that's where it came from. Next match, we have Leandro Lo defeating Henrique Ceconi. 2 advantages. That's it. No other points are scored. A lot of work on the feet from pretty much all of the match was on the feet for the most part.
Leandro would stand for a while, then he would definitely pull to De La Riva, and then he'd come up and I mean Ceconi, is it Ceconi?
Let's go with Ceconi.
Ceconi.
We're gonna butcher it. Let's butcher it consistently.
Henrique Ceconi.
If you've never heard the outro of the show, listen to it once. It's 2018 recording of Emil and I like doing the outro. Like, hey,
Ceconi,
subscribe to the. It was basically like, hey, subscribe to the podcast if you're not. Like, share it out with your gym. And if you're not doing that and you do like the show, please share it out to your gym and the folks you train with, because that's how we grow the show.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, it goes, and if we butchered your name, just let us know what your name is so we can stop doing that. Over the years we've gotten so many people like, hey, my name's actually pronounced like this, and it's like, oh, cool.
Oh,
we were pronouncing it wrong for a year and a half. Thank you.
Good to know.
So yeah, I think it is Ceconi though.
So yeah, Ceconi. What I found interesting was Ceconi was definitely trying some different takedowns. He just didn't have the room on the mat to actually complete them.
Leandro also was a guy that's like Leandro. I think in jiu-jitsu is the guy that is the best at playing the edge of the mat. There is not a grappler in the sport, especially in the gi, that is as good at playing the edge as Leandro.
That's true.
Like his entire like world championship runs are like a master class. They had to change the IBJJF rules this last rules revision to just deal with 2 things that Leandro did, which made me laugh because he did a little thing with the hands out and then with the spinning around.
Yeah.
That's now a penalty.
Oh, really?
Yep. And they also changed like an edge of the mat rule that's like if you read it, it's like, that is specifically this match in this Leandro fight that you changed this rule for.
Yeah.
So sorry, not that so you're talking about the takedowns of Ceconi off the mat, and I wanted to just add, if you're gonna have a problem with the guy at the edge, it's gonna be Leandro.
Yeah, definitely. So Ceconi kept on trying to get like an overhook to. I saw it as an overhook to maybe a high crotch. You saw it as like an overhook
like an entry
to like
a fireman's.
To fireman's carry.
But that was like not even the setup. That wasn't even what he was working for. And you kind of called this out.
No, he went under. It looked like a
We just had the
spin.
name of it.
Yeah, an arm spin.
Arm spin.
So I went on this crazy that I was almost late coming here traveling trip where I know that I learned this move with a lat drop. And so I was calling it a lateral spin because I know you spin under, because I know my spin sucks. So when I go to spin, I just get flattened on my face. I've never done it. I've never done it in gi either.
It's a traditional wrestling throw, and there's a judo variation of it, and it's basically It's an overhook, and then you spin under the guy's lat, and then you come out almost like a peek out, but standing.
Yeah.
And then jiu-jitsu guys will do it with a Kimura grip sometimes, and it's a Kimura throw essentially, but they'll do it. Wrestling does it without the Kimura grip, and that's,
they just do like you basically hug the arm because you can't. You don't have to worry about the choke. At
right,
that
and that's
point.
kind of what Ceconi was doing, but Leandro just did a really good job of like kind of like stuffing it out and then being to the edge of the mat.
Yeah,
like for
and then not
at least
being
two
able to
of,
actually go anywhere.
Yeah.
Go anywhere with it, but he tried it twice. He tried it once with an overhook and once with an underhook.
You can do it either way.
Yeah, and I think it was whatever Leandro was giving him at the time that he was able to kind of pull from it. But yeah, neither really worked. But it was interesting to at least see him try
a consistent setup from both the over and the underhook is interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Leandro takes it via 2 advantages. It was a very close match with a lot of time, spent on the feet.
Yeah.
Next match, we had another very close match. Mahamed Aly defeats Pedro Alex via decision. That was no, it wasn't decision. It was points.
It was advantages.
Yeah, advantages.
Yeah,
it's listed as via advantage.
Yeah, but it's
as via decision with points for advantage.
Yeah.
So yeah, he won via
2 advantages.
Yeah, 2 advantages. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was excited about this. I watched it. I was excited watching it. And then I, of course, start like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. I want to see this.
You rewatched it for notes.
And then I rewatched it. And yeah, it was not what I expected.
I'm always impressed at the speed that like these two guys can sprawl. Like Ali and Pedro both have just absurd heavyweight sprawls where you go into like take their hips and they bang you with their chest as they flatten you out, and both of them do it. And because this mat was like a little smaller at the size, every takedown resulted in like that happening, getting stuffed on the edge.
Well, and Ali kept on getting stuffed, and then after being stuffed, he didn't turn the corner. I think if he would have went to do a double and then got stuffed and then turned, he could have maybe stayed on the same mat, or he might have been able to keep him on the mat a little bit more. It happened once, I believe, against him.
It happened once against him, and then he had 2, and then once he actually gets to the body lock on Pedro, but is never able to, like, on the edge of the mat, and he's never able, they have to reset, and he's never able to kind of get it working. Like, I was a very close match for Ali here.
And then Ali also knows how to take advantage of the points or the out of bounds system.
Oh yeah,
because there was one time where Pedro definitely had his back and was going to take his back. Mahamed just flattened out and kind of spun, kind of like little kids, like almost like cartwheel spin. Like out of bounds, so that he.
You asked about this. You're like, was this IBJJF? I'm like, I think it was. I'm like, why are there no points for out of bounds?
IBJJF just started the whole you get 1 point against you if you're trying to get
which
out.
I think is a really important
it's
scoring
it's
thing
good,
for fleeing on stuff.
It pisses me off. It's not. I had a tournament recently that I did that they scored a point against me. I had no idea where I was, so the fact that I was fleeing like just pissed me off, and it just fueled my double leg. So I just double legged her like 2 seconds later. But fleeing is one of those things. I mean, I understand if you mean to flee, but there's a completely different.
It's something that gets annoying. Is defense that involves moving to the direction of the out of the mat, and fleeing are like different things where it's like, well, he got points for fleeing there. It's like, well, that totally wasn't fleeing. That was totally the correct way that he had to defend whatever that was that happened to be edge of the mat. Other times where it's like, who was it? Who got triangled and walked out of bounds at like Pans or Worlds like
I remember
2 years?
it happening.
It was it Tomogishi Shera had, or Tomoyuki Hashimoto had a triangle on someone, like a really big prospect, and the prospect eventually walked out of bounds and they got DQ'd for it.
The TLI team was known for doing that for years. Yeah, for learning how to go out of bounds and get restarted.
Now all the teams do it.
Yeah.
So that does it for the super fights. Let's move into the heavyweight GP. Where do you want to go through the beginning real quick?
Yeah, we'll go through.
We had Anderson Muniz defeating Harrison Pereira via 2-0. We had Isaque, if you have something you want to talk about here.
Okay, that's fine.
We had Gabriel Henrique defeating Eduardo Lopez 12-0. We had Erberth Santos defeating Guilherme Lambertucci via rear naked choke. Erberth came on hard and passed with like 2 separate long step. The first one was a long step pass. The second one was just sort of like a step around pass with the outside hand grip on the pants.
And it wasn't like your normal. It was almost like your normal surfboard pass. Like I love a surfboard pass where you just like basically slide through someone.
Well, that was at the end.
But yeah,
that was the pass at the end.
Oh, okay.
Of the next match.
Oh, and the middle one was the one where he just kind of like threw his legs to the side.
He just sort of like, it was kind of like a weird half-assed Toriando, but I'm just like, I'm so much more athletic and faster that I can just make this work. And after he did it the first time to Guilherme just didn't have like kind of the hip speed to get back, and Erberth had like got the timing, and I went, oh, this is like the Erberth of old. This is what this guy looks like.
Yeah.
You know, he fought through the guard initially and then hit the long step and passed, and then the second time he was just through, gets to the back. He like does that beautiful thing where he throws you over and then follows you with his hips, gets the back, and then just like rear naked chokes his face like twice.
Yeah.
Where Erberth's hand is over the face, and then the set hand isn't like behind the head. It's like on top of his head, where you're like, that's not even doing anything.
No,
like it's just like you're just crushing the guy's face, and then like Lambertucci kind of defends it, and then Erberth just goes back to it, and Lambertucci goes,
okay.
yeah, I'm Erberth's got this. I'm gonna tap here. Erberth just cranks away, and he's tapping, and Erberth is just still cranking, and it was like, okay, like he got the joke.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
No.
I know Erberth gets a lot of flack, deservedly so, for a lot of it. I do like seeing when the guy's on, because he's very exciting.
He's a good showman when he's on.
When he's on, when he's not, it's rough. But we've seen him 2 weeks in a row, like being on. Wallace Costa defeats Marcus Ribeiro via decision, 4-4 on points, and tied 2-2 to adds on that one. On the semifinals, we had Anderson Munis defeating Gabriel Henrique via split decision, 0-0. This one was super close. It was basically like, really IBJJF, like Munis on the bottom playing the guard, and Henrique on top looking for the pass.
Yeah. And just not able to.
No, a lot of time in like kind of a variation of single leg X and like a split, like a low side 50-50.
Yeah.
With the 1 foot stepped over, and you're almost in single leg X, but from the guard position.
Yeah.
That was the entirety of the match. In a even match, usually IBJJF will score for the guard player. I don't really have a problem with that here. It was a very close match, given why it was a split decision.
Yeah.
Next match, we had Erberth Santos defeating Wallace Costa 6-6, and one advantage at the end. And that's kind of where you saw Erberth, like that long-term and that like real good knowledge of like when to explode and when to go came through at the end, because Erberth scores that last advantage, I think, in the dying seconds of the match, right?
Yeah.
That was this match. Really with that surfboard pass at the end that he hits, and he just gets on top, and they kind of give him the advantage for the near pass, and that was, that was all they wrote there.
Yeah. And then the finals was Anderson Munis defeating Erberth Santos, which I can't pronounce. I don't know why.
You can do like way more. Like, if you're gonna be wrong about it, just be wrong.
I just need to be cocky about my wrongness.
Like, that's what we do for years. To just be wrong about names. Like Zach, like amazing analyst, can't pronounce a name to save his life.
Yeah,
love Zach. Like he called the meows the wrong. I'm like, you've been watching these guys for like 15 years. Like, yeah, I just read the names. I never listen to commentary. So he just like gone with what he's thought the name was for the last like 10 years in his head, and then I'm sure I butcher names all the time, but so
Munis
versus Santos, good match for both guys. It was just very, very close, and really in the last
it was 18 seconds to go.
Yeah, wasn't much time left in the match.
Yeah, where it was the attempted sweep.
Yeah, basically Munis sweeps Erberth. He sits to his butt, and then Erberth, realizing that he has essentially gotten swept there, or like in an attempt to pass, like he waits to the last second, stands back up as Munis is trying to close the distance on him, and it's long enough to score Munis a near sweep, essentially.
Well, and they're going out of bounds at the same time. So.
And then the time runs out with Erberth sort of defending it out of bounds, and then that was enough for the advantage, and then Munis takes that over Santos in the finals. So I like watching Munis and Erberth. It is nice to see Erberth like having a more consistent performance that we know he is capable of, with less weirdness. True. Like, he hasn't done something weird in a while. I hope the guy has, kind of gotten his mental stuff back in check. Munis is a guy we've seen all the Munis brothers. We're continuing to see them play.
Like the Munis show.
Yeah. We're seeing more and more shows like that. Yeah. So it's cool. Overall, it was a fun event. I would like to see a bigger mat in the future, because definitely that was a lot of...
At least for the standing. If you want some takedowns and you want some, especially for the larger guys, Muhammad Ali size
Nalati.
guys. Yeah, you need a little bit more mat space so they can throw each other around a little bit more.
Yeah. So that does it for Big Deal Pro 3. I'm happy it's on Flow. I'm a fan of like the big Brazilian promotions because it gives us a chance to cover more of the Brazilian athletes that honestly a lot of them can't get out of Brazil as frequently or have problems with that or visa issues. So it's cool to have another big Brazilian promotion that's putting on big super fights because it gives us a chance to see more like top level Brazilian talent, which is super exciting. It's one of the hotbeds of, the sport. And so it's awesome to have them on Flow finally.
It is.
Anything else on that event?
No, that's about it.
On to the next event, we had Fight to Win Fight to Win 176. Ooh, I called it Pro again. Fight to Win 176. This one was headlined by Junny Ocasio versus Carlos Oliveira. Ocasio wins that via decision.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this initially. The commentary was like, "Oh, I'm not sure about that decision," and I watched the match and went, that was a very clear decision for Ocasio and like no controversy whatsoever.
The commentators seem to think that that Carlos had quite a few
Estima
lock attempts with passing. Now I saw him maybe hold onto the leg to try
and that's
to
what
pass.
I saw too. I saw like him,
but I never saw an actual Estima because Junny would have had to then roll under to get out of it. Like if you lock it well on somebody's foot from that position, you have to then invert to get out of it.
Especially on a smaller nogi guy.
Yeah,
like that's the defense. Like
or kick out.
Yeah.
And there are two things that I never saw him actually do.
No, you saw Junny invert under, but because he was looking for the legs and looking for the sweep there,
yeah.
You never saw
like
him roll under.
Yeah,
you never saw him roll under as a result of like a defensive action he was taking.
No, you never saw him defend anything, really in any position.
I mean, he defended two.
Well, he defended passes, but you never saw him actually get into any sort of.
And there was really only two passing attempts from Oliveira that like one of them was really close, but Ocasio was able to get.
He was also not going wasn't trying to pass back and forth to both sides. He was definitely allowing Junny to pick which direction that he was going, because Junny would put the one knee up and he would always go to the side without the knee.
Yeah, the side
he
you
never
can actually
tried
pass
to
on that.
he never tried to actually like push Junny's knee down and pass the other direction
To force to the wrong side, not the wrong side. To force to the weak
I
side.
do that to people that I know have a good guard. I'm going to push them to the the bad side. And then you have the weirdos that actually only like that side, and you come across them and you're like, oh,
I'm a strong side passer like an idiot, but like so I can't really talk.
I try to do both, but I find it doesn't always work. But
for me, really, Ocasio has two entries here, one of which is clear that requires defense from Oliveira, that kind of knee bar combination he hits. Kind of in the middle.
Twice in the beginning.
Yeah, twice towards the beginning of the match.
And
that's really where Ocasio shines. It's like before you have his timing, we've seen him just murk guys at the beginning of matches with leg locks because he just gets in. His finishing is very, very good. It's very, very quick, and he has like unconventional entries and unconventional like finishes.
But I think the unconventional entries over time are going to get more conventional.
Yeah, and we've also seen Ocasio fight like he's the black belt champion at bantamweight for Fight to Win.
Yeah,
you're only fighting ranked contenders and ranked guys.
Yeah,
now,
people are going to be able to watch your film and know how you're
figure it out some
more.
But those were the two entries. He hits like I wouldn't say either of them were close to submission, but they definitely required defense from Oliveira. And other than that, there was a lot of like
Oliveira at the very end had the little flurry where he like jumped the triangle.
That was. But let's see. Will we consider
that was the Hail Mary triangle.
But on the show, we really consider that a lot. Like, and we don't consider footlocks in the last 10 seconds to count, and like position and submission entries are different than like submission attempts. Like people are in footlocks, like they are in a position to begin putting on a submission, but necessarily being into the legs doesn't mean you were like actually in the process of submitting. And so like the flying triangle over was like he was like looking to set up a flying triangle. He shot for it, but he never was able to like get the legs around and get an arm for it.
He never really got it.
Because the commentators brought that up as a point, like, oh, they might have sealed it for him. And I went, you mean the jumping guard fly sit that he hit that didn't go anywhere?
And if you are afraid that you're going to lose or you're towards the end of the match,
it was definitely something that Oliveira should have done. Like it made sense in the rule set, and it's something like I have no problem with his performance.
He should have tried it earlier.
Yeah, I have no problem with his performance.
I mean,
but
in
it was
all honesty, what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Right.
You're going to run through. You just keep on running. You know?
Yeah. I thought it was a very clear decision for Ocasio. Oliveira looked good. He just was really never able to get his passing open, and he wasn't really throwing up the sub attempts that Ocasio had thrown up. And then so in Fight to Win, That's a very clear decision. Junny retains. I'm very excited to see. We've seen him move through a bunch of the bantamweights now. I'm very curious to see who the next contender is for him on Fight to Win because, he's consistently put up good performances as the bantamweight champion.
Yes.
Anything else on this one?
Nope, not on this one.
All right, moving to the next match, we have Gustavo Batista versus Tex Johnson. I don't remember how we picked this one, but I think we both picked Batista.
No, I think I picked Tex.
Did you pick Tex?
Yeah, I picked Tex, which I just thought he would bully him. He would bully him on the ground.
Well, this was also a weird match for Tex because Tex seemed to get really tired in the match, more so than we're used to seeing him.
I believe he cut weight too. I believe he was cutting to make that size.
That would make sense.
I believe he cut to get to that size, and he was coming from East Coast to Denver, which was an elevation change there. And the elevation,
this was Denver. I forgot this was Denver.
And
that makes way more sense now.
I trained with a black belt out in Colorado Springs, not in here in Philly, but it was from Colorado Springs, and she had commented that watching people come to IBJJF and try to do Denver and not train at elevation and then try to compete at elevation, you gas.
So I originally went out a couple of years ago and trained with where her mom and brother are in Longmont, Colorado. We trained for a week there. And because we had nothing else to do, it was just like we talked to Jim, and they were like, "Yeah, come train." I was like, "Oh,
that's
you guys,
awesome.
The community is awesome." And we trained, at Dark Horse for a week, and it was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had such a great time to this day. I want to go back. The first 3 days, I was also in absurd shape then.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice it that much. But what I did notice is that after the round, I couldn't get my breath. I was like, oh, I can't, I don't feel fatigued.
Yeah.
But I'm not catching my breath as quickly after the rounds. But I also didn't compete. It was gyms, it was open mats, it was classes. It wasn't competition.
I went to Oregon last month or month before. And we stayed up on Mount Hood, which is a
very high.
And it's a volcano. But we stayed up at a resort that was at the tree line of Mount Hood. So you were at a high elevation at that point. I forget what the elevation is, but it's close to the Denver elevation. Right. And you wouldn't realize it until we were trying to carry up our bags up to the room because it's like a 1930s hotel. So you have to carry your bags. And you get winded. You get winded quickly. So I don't know if that was
it was a very long story. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting to see Tex be a little winded here, but Batista kind of did what we thought he would do here. He definitely passed closer than I thought he would on Johnson. I thought he would do much more outside passing, and he really decided to try to crush Tex's legs in.
Yeah.
We didn't see the inversion game on display from Tex here. Batista did a really good job of controlling the hips on the outside.
He tried to a few times, but he didn't roll through. He definitely went up on his shoulder a few times, but he didn't roll through like he did in the last match against Hulk.
I was really impressed with how Batista controlled Tex's hips here because he did a really good job of again preventing the inversion, and also when Tex would open up a little space to get underneath, Batista would use that to start putting forward pressure and passing and collapsing his legs, and you'd see Tex have to make space and retain his guard there. It just wasn't. I liked this match because it was not the dynamic that I expected in the match because it was a passing style of Batista's that I just didn't anticipate him employing, and it worked so well, kind of coupled with Tex's game.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Very interesting, but I think Batista, it was a pretty clear decision for Batista. Lost the top control. He gets past was it once, I think?
I think it's towards the end once he got past to side control.
Yeah.
There wasn't really, there was a little bit of guard maintained, but not much after that.
Yeah, Batista, puts a really dominant performance on top side, and then that was the match. I don't have actually a bunch of other. So right now we don't have Fight to Win full results up. So let's go through a couple other matches. And which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with any of these?
You wanted to do Hunter Colvin, correct?
Yeah, let's do Hunter. That was an interesting end to the match. Really, really good back and forth. Iago put a ton of pressure in initially, and in the ending sequence of the match, Hunter gets to sort of a modified crucifix from the back. Never kind of gets the arm, but he has the back arm controlled. He has the low arm controlled with his hand, and he's fighting the one arm choke, and they are rolling off the mat. Hunter changes and lets go of the hand of Iago, and he changes to a rear naked choke. I didn't really see what was happening, but then they stopped the match, and it's over, and I went, okay, well, he had the back almost, and he had the hand in, and we know Hunter Colvin is ridiculously strong. We've seen him choke many people with a rear naked choke. I assume that there was a tap there because, they've not restarted the match, and
Yeah.
in which case in Fight to Win, they'll just do a mirrored restart. They're going to put you back in the sub where you were when you went off the mat. You don't really want to start with Colvin on your neck. But there was some controversy.
There was. And it seemed to go back and forth and I don't know if it was a rule set issue where they just thought that by going off the mat, they would come back with more of like an IBJJF rule set where they would be then standing. And maybe that was some confusion, or maybe he didn't think that the tap was that the tap happened. I don't know.
We couldn't figure it out. But Seth came out, and Seth was told him how it was. And I tried to turn up the volume as much as I could on the board to see if I could hear it. I couldn't quite make out what they were saying. But, Hunter takes a really nice... I like the transition a lot from the back to maintain the back control, let go of the arm to get the rear naked choke there. It's a transition we've seen from Hunter before, and it was just cool to see him implement that again. Also on this card, we had Joe Bays doing what Joe Bays does versus Jeff Ake, hitting the heel hook real quick off of the De La Hiva.
Yeah, he had a reverse De La Hiva, and then he pulled the leg through almost. He basically had him pass. He helped the guy pass him, and then just locked in on his leg.
And then Joe Bays did what Joe Bays... And as soon as I saw Joe Bays on the card, I went, he's going to win by heel hook if he wins. And that's one of the surest bets in jiu-jitsu is Joe Bays by heel hook. Whenever we see him, it's always his game, what he's looking for, and he's gonna hug you to the chest, he's gonna turn you over to the outside single action De La Hiva, and then he's gonna heel hook you.
Yeah.
And he does it. So
they were making all these comments about him taping his wrists so they had more control of the legs and all kinds.
That's what he looks like. We've seen him on Submission Underground like that. We've seen him on a bunch of cards over the years, and that's what he looks.
Yeah.
And he took a Masters title here.
Yeah.
I forget. I didn't catch the weight. Did you catch the weight?
I thought they said 205. But I could be completely wrong with that too, because you had seen him at...
I said that.
Yeah.
I said 170, and then I immediately went, I have no idea what Bays competes at. I think he's a bigger guy.
It could be light heavyweight too. I don't know.
That is 205, but same thing.
Well, it's 205. Yeah, then I'm good.
Any other results you want to go through on this card?
Jeremy Hastings.
Yeah, let's go through that match.
Jeremy Hastings hit... what I always referred to as the Nicolini armbar. You said...
So give some context for people. So Michelle Nicolini is a very good world champion level black belt female.
She is. And back in IBJJF in 2014, because I looked it up.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, because I couldn't remember how long ago it was. She hit this armbar against Tammy Musumeci, who's the older sister, correct?
She's has to be, because Mikey's not that old.
Of Mikey, yeah. Well, I didn't know she was super young when she first started.
That's why 2014 seems super young for her to be. I'm also getting old now, and I realize people we've been covering for black belts are 30s.
Yeah, but so I was looking, and I've always known it as the Nicolini armbar because it's a very it's a different setup to an armbar as you would normally have it. They also refer to it as a domo plata, which I've never heard before.
I've never heard that before. Ever.
And you've heard it.
I named it because I didn't know what it was called.
It something else.
A slot machine armbar. So what it is you start an omoplata, but instead of going for
a failed omoplata, basically.
Kinda.
Because you don't turn to face. You stay perpendicular with the person.
So essentially, you're gonna go for a Taraco plata or a Barato plata, where you have both legs on the wrong side arm, but you're under you're on the omoplata.
And he had the lapel.
He had the lapel. He had the cross-side underhook lapel on the back, which was great. And he was pulling him over. And then with Jeremy's close side foot to the head, he loops it under Chris's far side arm, and then he brings that arm over Chris's own back to himself. Yeah. And I went, that's a weird position to look at.
Shoulders to basically together.
Yeah, so and then you can hit an arm lock from there, and which is what it's like a shoulder lock armbar combination.
Yeah.
When the slot machine arm lock is when it's straight up. When they lift it straight over, you hit it like that because it looks like you pull a slot machine.
And if you guys want to go back in time, when Michelle Nicolini did it, said Tammy Musumeci, she definitely broke Tammy's arm.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a dislocation or if it was a break, but you definitely see it happen. And Tammy just goes straight through it and doesn't stop, which is the craziest part of the whole thing. But it's a
rare sub. You don't see it a lot.
No. But he started it and then he completed it.
Yeah, I wish the angle was a little better. We kind of looking at the back for the camera angle, and so I couldn't exactly see like what variation he did that finished the pull on the arm. If it was more shoulder, if it was more like what joint it was actually kind of going after. But he gets the tap, and it's an unconventional submission. You'll see a whole lot.
In all honesty, I mean, you could have wrist locked from there, and you could do really.
Once you have both arms, it's not.
You have basically anything you want.
Also on the card, we had our buddy Troy Everett defeating Anthony Santiago via guillotine, one of my favorite subs. Works in for a Darce initially and finishes the guillotine. This is Troy's 26th fight to win appearance.
That's crazy.
That's a ton. I think he was neck and neck with Dom Hoskins for a while.
He won. He won against the MMA fighter out in Hawaii.
Chris Lieben.
Yeah,
he beat Chris Lieben.
Yeah.
Which is. He's still super happy about that victory. I love, yeah, dude.
It's a great one.
It's a great victory.
It's definitely one that.
And like the text chain of like Seth offering that fight and like Chris Lieben, it's a whole thing. It's on the documentary for Fight to Win.
Is it?
Yeah, for the 100th event, you can see Troy talking about Chris Lieben because Troy worked for Fight to Win for years and years and years, and it's just this great little moment of like he wins. It's like okay, he has to go back to work.
Yeah.
So congrats to Troy, taking another win on Fight to Win. Always love to see it. I don't have anything else that I want to go through on Fight to Win. Anything else we missed that you want to talk about?
No. I think just going through.
Mm-hmm. So that does it for the recap section of the show. Real brief aside. So this show is being recorded on Monday, July 12th, 2021. In about 6 hours, Quintet Fight Night 7 is happening. So when this show is out, essentially Quintet Fight Night 7 will be either happening or in the process of happening. It happens 5 a.m. Tuesday, which when the show gets released. So if you want to see some Japanese grappling in the Quintet format, which we absolutely love, it takes place basically this Tuesday, and you should definitely tune in for it because it's always fun. We have 4 teams.
And it's on Fight Pass, correct?
On Fight Pass, yep. Yeah. And it's just a fun midweek event. It's only a fight night, so it's not like a lot of the huge name grapplers, but it does have some fun people. Masuke Imanari is on there. Tomoyoshi Sherry is on here. Daisuke Nakamura is on here. It's a fun card. We have Team Brave Jim versus Team The Body Ride. I love the Quintet names.
Hey, why not?
And we have Team Triforce versus Team Wolf. We may or may not get a chance to cover it next week, but it is happening, and quintets are always just a ton of fun to watch. So if you have a free day this week, kind of in the lead up to ADCC, you should watch it.
I'm gonna have a train ride, so I'm probably gonna watch it on the train tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Like probably at lunch tomorrow. Like I'll kick it on and like enjoy Quintet because it's always wild and it's always a spectacle. It's always just a fun event.
And I find that events over in Tokyo and they have much more of a spectacle about them than matches here in the United States.
Which I kind of I appreciate it for what it is most of the time. Yeah. And then you watch a Sakuraba match and you're like, is this a real match? Is this a fake match?
I've wanted for the longest time to do one of the New Year's Eve Dynamite cards because they just look like so much fun.
One of the Ryzen cards?
Yeah, they just come out with the
sumo
wrestlers and like tickets are really cheap.
I'm gonna go.
I priced the tickets.
Rachel and I are gonna go on our honeymoon in Japan whenever it opens up.
Yeah.
And you should do I'm looking to go to one of the Super Saitama Arena events.
Yeah.
With the 2-day events.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. So
it'd be so much
that will be at some point in the future. We want to move on to let's do Road to ADCC.
Okay.
First, because that is super exciting and I'm amped to talk about it. Main eventing, we have Kainan Duarte, the plus 99 kilogram 2019 ADCC champion, taking on Mateus Diniz, the under 88 kilogram ADCC champion. Kainan is going to go to under 99 for this next ADCC, and Diniz, I think, will attempt to defend his title under the under 88 kilogram division for ADCC.
Okay.
This is a wild match. They haven't fought before. What is your pick? Not what's your pick. What do you think? How do you think this will go?
It's gonna be. I don't know. Like it could go either way, really. I'm gonna give the edge to Duarte here. I mean, as the lover of the smaller competitor and the maybe like dark horse. It really isn't a dark horse because, in all honesty, like they're both amazing. But Duarte, on a lot of the different things that I've read so far, a lot of people are going with Duarte. I'm gonna go with Diniz.
I like how you're just going with the contrarian pick.
I'm literally just. Well, I think also I would hope that he would be a little mad over his last match. That he choked
the Hulk match.
Yeah, that he
choked Hulk unconscious.
Choked him unconscious,
and then Hulk won anyway.
Yeah. That he may be a little bit mad about that, and that
Hulk's also on the card.
Yeah, I
fighting
know.
William Tackett. So
Well, and the way that they're lined up right now, I wonder if that's red and blue corner. If they put them in the same room, that'd be hilarious.
I didn't think. I didn't even. No, usually they have the big mat. They have the big backstage.
Okay,
mat.
and they put everybody
Put
together.
everyone back there. But the mat's it's a giant backstage mat, so
Yeah.
it's like fine. They kind of people always kind of find their corner.
I always find it funny when they put people in the same room that they shouldn't really put them in the same room
Yeah,
together.
and always
It's
backstage rooms
hilarious.
are always tiny.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it makes me laugh. So I'm gonna go Duarte here. I just think that, I just think that it is so unbelievably hard to take Duarte out of his element. And in ADCC, like he is made for that rule set. He stands up well. Like his takedown game is good. His passing game is like he's good everywhere. Deniz is good everywhere. Deniz will definitely play more of a stalemate game.
Yeah, but he also has trouble pulling the switch. So if he pulls the switch well, then we're good to go, which is another reason why I shouldn't go with who I'm going with, but I'm going to do it anyway because I've already said it.
So that's what I think Duarte. I think Duarte is so good and so versatile, even though we haven't seen him in ADCC in 2 years, because it's been 2 years for both of them. I just think that like he has that something special to be able to pull it through in the rule set.
Yes.
I don't think there's going to be a sub here. I would be astonished if we saw. I think the only person I've seen submit Mateus recently is is Gordon, and that's it. So I think that I think this is clear. This is probably most likely Duarte, but again,
But it's going to be a decision. It's going to be a hard decision.
It's going to be a long, hard decision. And under ADCC rules, we haven't seen that in 2 years. I'm always curious how this goes. Next match, we have Nicky Ryan versus Dante Leon plus 77 kilogram match. The Dante and Kynan is at open weight. Both of them are going to be probably similar weight anyway. Doesn't really matter. But Nicky Ryan versus Dante Leon is plus 77 kilograms. Both these guys are going to go down in weight for this.
Yeah.
Like both these guys have been doing 88 for a little bit here. So
But
being at plus, actually, no, sorry, it's not under 88. It's plus 77.
Plus
so it's
77.
above 77 kilograms.
Yeah, so they're fine.
Which is just a weird way to write that, actually.
That is. But I think they were I think the last time we spoke about this, it was written like that too.
Yeah.
Because I think we made the same comment before.
The last week's show.
Yeah.
I want to give the edge to Dante here.
I would like to also.
Like, I think that I like Nicky Ryan.
But he's also Dante's also lost to Gary Tonin, correct?
Yeah, but I think Gary Tonin and Nicky Ryan are stylistically very different. Like in the,
So, I
the
mean,
Gary
but I
match
think
was
that
exciting.
I think him losing to Gary at least gives him some sort of advantage, knowing.
I think the way that team prepares Nicky Ryan and the way that like Gary Tonin grapples matches up differently to Dante.
That is true when you think about it.
So I think the strengths.
I think Nicky moves a lot differently than Gary does.
Yeah, I think Nicky moves like Nicky, but now he's much, much bigger, and he still plays the game like he is small. Now he's trying to implement more wrestling, but I just don't think that Dante Leon is the guy to be able to implement your wrestling game, because that's one thing we've been kind of talking about and high on Dante Leon for 4 years now, is that like the dynamic ability of his wrestling on the feet, coupled with like he's dangerous on the top, he's dangerous on the bottom, and he can kind of do it all. He's got a good footlock game that I don't think he'll see versus Nicky Ryan, but I think that we'll probably see like aggressive top position passing, because I'm guessing that he will put Ryan down at some point in the match.
He should.
Nicky Ryan is definitely the more comfortable bottom player, but I think that Dante probably puts him down probably before the points are active, and then tries to implement a passing game. Although we're going to try to see, I guess Nicky Ryan's going to probably try to enter into the legs. I just don't see you catching Dante Leon in a leg lock. Like if Gary couldn't do it, Nicky Ryan's a very good leg locker, but Gary has more experience, had some size parity. I think Nicky Ryan will actually have size parity with Leon here, but I just feel like Leon's going to push a game and implement a game that's going to Nicky Ryan is going to have to adapt to, and he's going to have a difficult time adapting to it. Although Nicky Ryan is young and massively getting better every outing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I think I'm going to hedge my bet here for Leon. Do you think
I'm going to go with Leon.
Okay. Any other kind of points to add or no?
Not really. Not for that match. The next one is Mikey Musumeci versus Gio Martinez.
This is the one you're excited about.
Yeah, I am. I mean, my when it comes down to the rule set of ADCC, I think it's going to be interesting to see Mikey in that rule set.
You were talking about on the pre-show. We were talking about if Mikey isn't on the ground initially, then no points. Then he'll most likely have to concede points to Gio because I can't remember the last time I've seen Mikey wrestle, and I don't think you could
No,
either.
I
He's historically a guy that's gonna pull. I mean, roosterweight, light featherweight, like even in his open weight matches, like he's gonna pull. And Martinez is a guy that definitely is much more familiar with ADCC. Done what, 3 or 4 ADCCs trials, like.
And he has a wrestling background. I mean, he has some sort of wrestling background.
A little bit, for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for jiu-jitsu.
So I think it's curious because potentially Mikey's going to be down in points here, and then Martinez is a guy that very well understands how to push an edge in ADCC.
Yeah.
So I think this is stylistically, and Martinez is just a nightmare stylistically.
Yeah.
You know, they both have wins over Ocasio.
He goes all over the place too. Like he has the ability to be on his back. He also has the ability to pass. Like I said, his wrestling is decent. So
yeah. I just think Gio's a nightmare style up for anyone. Like he's just difficult. Now it's under 66 kilograms, and I think Martinez has to cut a little bit of weight to make under 66, and I don't believe Mikey will have to cut any weight to make under 66. But Gio's also super tough, and I don't think that weight cut will like take anything out of him. And I think he can maintain the pace that Mikey wants to play. Although we have seen Gio get a little tired in later matches.
Yeah. And we haven't really seen any submissions out of Gio for quite a while.
Yeah, when's the last submission he had?
It looked like 2018 was the last time I saw anything.
What event? Do you have it?
No, I just have the note about it being 2018 because I went back and looked because I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen him. I was curious just because I know that Mikey is going to try to probably get under and I would assume go after the legs.
It was a Kimura against Gregor Gracie.
Yeah.
In Quintet. I mean, Quintet's a weird event. And before that, remember they fought at Quintet. This is a rematch.
Oh, it is.
My dumbass. Yeah, this is a rematch. This is a rematch of Kasai Pro 2.
I even pulled this up and looked, and I didn't see it. So hey,
he has a loss to Nicky Ryan, and it was a very close match, and it was very contested, and it was a decision win. God, I'm confused about this match. Like I'm gonna go with Mikey because I can't. Yeah. I refuse to pick against Mikey. Oh, sorry, he didn't fight Nicky Ryan. We're talking about Musumeci now.
Okay, now we're all.
Sorry, my bad. No, I got so
That's
confused.
okay. We're blending people together at this point.
Yeah,
but,
no, they've never fought before.
No, Gio and Mikey have never won against each other before.
Right.
Gio's larger than Mikey.
Yeah.
So not that Mikey. I watched Mikey go up like 2 or 3 weight classes for IBJJF.
5. He fought Ali. He fought.
Well,
Seif.
I mean, I know he did.
Maidana.
I know he did absolute, but on the last
he did heavyweight, and then Ardell Maidana just kind of put him into the mat and was like, nah, I'm not gonna be nice to you.
Yeah.
And then Mikey stopped doing that, and I appreciated that because I don't want to see his career shortened by going up and fighting the giants because I don't think there's anything to. We know he's really good. I don't think there's anything to gain
he doesn't need to
that.
prove that.
Yeah. I'm going to go Musumeci here. I think it's going to be extremely tough for Musumeci. I don't see you submitting Gio because Gio is notoriously nearly impossible to submit.
I'm going to go with Gio. Because
really?
I think that Mikey being new to the rule set, and I think that Gio is going to have some sort of benefit to understanding the rule set, being able to capitalize on Mikey possibly pulling.
So one thing, Mikey Musumeci has been in Mo Jassim's ear all week.
Yeah.
Asking rule questions, and they're going to do a rule seminar.
I'm sure
You just think the familiarity is going to play dividends for Martinez here?
I
at least you're picking differently.
Yeah, I really don't like going against Mikey because I think Mikey
he's the best guy.
Yeah, and I feel like he's the type of person that could watch Gio move, and he could watch a bunch of his matches and learn how Gio is going to set things up and then be able to respond to that.
The other weird thing is we don't have a ton of tape on Gio recently.
No, not recently.
And so it's that's the other thing. It's well, what does he look like? We've seen him a couple of times in the last few years.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Gio's doing.
There's not been a whole lot. So that's
he
good.
did some combat jiu-jitsu at one point, didn't he?
We don't cover that.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Dude, I enjoy the combat jiu-jitsu.
Good
Gio has done it.
Good for you. His brother did it.
It's entertaining. Yeah. I mean, you watch grown men slap each other in the face.
It's definitely a thing.
The thing that irritates me is the whole they have to sit after a certain period of time. You can't leave it on your
get down rule.
Yeah,
which is the weirdest rule name ever.
Pisses me off.
So on to ADCC. Anyway. It'll be fun. Again, I'm picking Musumeci. You're picking Gio. That's exciting. I'm amped for this match. This is it's gonna be interesting regardless.
Yeah.
Next match we have late replacement William Tackett filling in for Craig Jones because he has a broken hand to fight Lucas the Hulk Barbosa. This is a rematch from Subversive 4 that Hulk took pretty soundly via decision.
Yeah.
I kind of think that it was less than a year ago. I kind of think it's gonna be a similarly looking match.
Yeah, but then you have to. So in that match, because I rewatched that match before we came on today, Tackett pulled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he didn't really pull. Tackett got taken down and kind of swept under or tried to sweep under. So that would then give Hulk the benefit.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
it's ADCC rules.
Yeah.
I just think that I think Tackett's made massive improvements. And
True.
continues to make massive improvements.
He does.
And again, he was a weighed-in alternate for the last ADCC. I just think that Hulk is the bigger man here, the stronger guy, and...
But maybe Tackett watches the last match. Maybe he picks up on something.
Thinks he can do what Deniz did.
Yeah.
I just think that, every time I think about someone wrestling Hulk, I just think of Patrick Gaudio shooting in on Hulk at ADCC, and Hulk just,
pushing him away.
Stopping him. And I just, Patrick Gaudio is a tank of a man. And if you can stop the shot like that, just and off balance him, turn him and you caught him immediately at the center of the momentum, that stuffing that takedown, is still to this day so impressive to me the way he did it. There are very few guys that I really want to pick against in the wrestling versus Hulk. Nicky Rod is one of the only guys that I probably pick to out wrestle Hulk. Other than that, he's a tough nut to crack from the wrestling perspective. And a couple of guys the heavyweight classes. I think Orlando is problematic, but guys that we frequently see in 88 kilograms, I just think it's going to be a tough ask for Tackett. I think Hulk takes this one. I think it's close.
I think Hulk takes it too.
Yeah, I think it's just a tough. It's tough to have ADCC rules. Hulk has more experience.
But I think if anything, it's going to be a good experience for Tackett. It's a good play.
And it's a good rematch.
It's a good play for Tackett.
The other crazy rematch that Tackett had is he had the fight with Tex Johnson, where Tex may or may not have kind of punched him in the face a little bit at BJJ Fanatics at the black belt GP.
Yeah.
And then he fought Tex later and put on just a passing clinic. And he was a completely different fighter in that match. I'm curious to see if we'll see him implement a different strategy versus Hulk. I still am going to pick Hulk, but we have seen Tackett in rematches versus heavier, high-level guys make big changes and look significantly different.
True.
Although he did have a recent match versus Rotolo that, it was a little rougher on short notice. This is a second short notice match to take. I definitely think it's an uphill battle, but it's a very interesting battle. And I am excited for Tackett getting that shot at a rematch for Hulk. I'm very amped about this match. This whole card is awesome. Next match, we have Anna Carolina Vieira versus Elizabeth Clay at plus 60 kilograms. Another wild matchup. What do you think?
I think Elizabeth Clay is going to take it. But so
I like you lead off with that. You're I think this is what's gonna happen.
I think. Well, I could try to lead it up, but that's what I actually think is gonna happen.
You think by leg lock?
She normally.
Normally when Clay wins, it's leg lock.
what I've seen so far in her professional matches has been leg locks.
Mm-hmm.
I think they both have a loss to Guardes, Geddes.
Rafaela Geddes.
Dude.
Yeah.
I have a friend that went against her at the Quintet that Fight to Win did. I think it was Fight to Win.
Subversive.
Yeah.
Subversive.
That went against her, and she's never been manhandled like that before.
No. I think I know the match you're talking about. Yeah. And it's Geddes is terrifying.
Yeah.
But also
So anyway, I don't hold it against either of them to both have losses to her.
We haven't seen as much from Vieira recently. We've seen a little bit, but Clay, I think in Clay's matches where she has won, she has looked so dominant.
Yeah.
And that's sort of why I want to give her the edge. Although when we have seen Baby Vieira compete, for me, I have certain grapplers that have certain events that stick out super prominently in my mind.
Yeah.
Anna Carolina Vieira winning the black belt, winning the inaugural and only.
Is it Queen of that one?
Not Queen of the Mats. It was the black belt CBD.
Oh, okay.
Her winning that event just sticks out of my head so prominently with her and Rodolfo on the same card that night.
Yeah.
Again, we've seen a little less activity from Anna Carolina. We have a couple matches in 2020, and then we have the one match in 2021, Fight to Win versus Geddes, which was the loss. She has the loss to Natalia de Jesus.
I lost it.
So I clicked away from
okay.
it there.
No, that's fine.
The only loss that Elizabeth has recently is Geddes as well, and Gabby Garcia.
But they were all rather recent. I mean, she's been on a tear since for the last couple months.
This is for me a toss up. I'm gonna lean Clay, but having just a standout performance from Vieira would in no way surprise me either. I think we're gonna look for Clay to pull. I doesn't care about the point.
Yeah.
And then gonna look for her to enter into the legs. If we do see more of her wrestling showcase, that would be awesome. I just think that she's a great leg locker in a rule set that facilitates going for the legs.
True.
I just think that that's a stronger avenue to victory for Clay.
True.
You know.
But I mean, at the same point, Clay might try to showcase the wrestling because it doesn't really hurt her in any way.
Yeah.
Even if she gets taken down, she's already where she wants to be.
And that's why this is so exciting, because it's just like, never
Yeah.
know how it goes. Yeah, she ends up on the bottom. She's not really worried about
She's not
that.
concerned
That's a
about that at all.
terrifying tool to have. It's like, yeah, I'm at the bottom. I don't really care. There's no points.
Yeah.
Cool. That'll be a fun match at plus 60. And at under 88, our final match, we have Roberto Jimenez versus Andrew Wiltse. This is a weird stylistic match because we were talking about before in the pre-show that I think Wiltse has a better wrestling game. And I think in the ADCC rules, that is such a factor.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be problematic for Jimenez.
Yeah, if you've ever watched, do you ever watch the shows where they show their wrestling at
Daisy Fresh?
Yeah, Daisy Fresh, but they do the Daisy Fresh wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's craziness. Like I'm completely fine with 100% like throw people through the walls wrestling practice because you need to be able to be pushed that hard at some point. I know some people are not a fan because they think it's like complete madness that
You want to get good, you got to kind of do it.
You might be chucking your friend into another friend, but
I mean, if you're too cause, you'll get injured, I think, which is the
that whole gym is too close. Like,
that whole gym is too close. The whole Pedigo gym is,
Yeah, they need an overhaul and a steam cleaning.
A lot of it.
Yeah. But I appreciate it, and I think they're a really good gym. They seem to all work well together. They seem to all.
The interesting thing is if Andrew gets Jimenez down, I think he'll get him down into the guard. I don't think it's going to be a clean takedown. And I think Roberto in the guard is another animal.
Yeah.
Like that double under he has to the back, he has hit on so many guys. And I'm curious to see if Wiltse can stop that. That's the biggest dynamic here is I think Wiltse will put him down. But can he keep him down and can he prevent that double underhook?
Well, and I think Wiltse has the coaching to be able to pick up on that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like his coach definitely watches tape on other people. They seem to be a gym that pay attention to what they're coming up to as opposed to just kind of implementing their own game. They do both. They kind of implement their own game, but they also
they're dynamic and they can do that. They have the variety. They have the variety to implement a different game if needed for a certain opponent, which is nice. Yeah.
And a rule set because I mean, I love the show. I watch the show religiously. And their coach is great. Like I think I've never met him, so I can't tell you if he's amazing, but on the show he seems like he's a great coach. And they all seem to have a really close-knit gym, which always helps a little bit. So I think Wiltse will come up with a game that definitely knows how to go against maybe some of the faults of Jimenez.
Yeah. I mean, the leg lock issue is the biggest thing we've talked about. You know, historically, Jimenez has really struggled with adept leg lockers. Wiltse is a good leg locker, and I'm curious to see if that's going to play a factor here. Jimenez definitely has the tools.
Wiltse, okay. I was going to say he would have to. Wiltse's guard is amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's going to have to deal with that to begin with, but that doesn't really interject in what we were talking about
Not really.
at all.
It's interesting because we've not seen either of these guys in the ADCC rule set since trials. Like trials at West Coast.
Was Wiltse in trials?
For some reason, I think he was.
As a brown belt?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's been trial. I mean, Jimenez, we saw him in trials, and we've seen him kind of historically have some issues with leg locks here and there. You know, that's in the ADCC rule set that is such a factor. I'm curious to see if it'll continue to be a factor.
Click him real quick. I'm just curious.
Andrew Wiltse?
Yeah.
You don't think he was in trials?
I know. It's like in my brain, I'm just curious. Maybe we just haven't paid attention to him.
Okay, so we only have 2019.
Yeah.
So we don't have trials listed. So
I'm just curious. I'm more of a curiosity thing of who he won against. just because I would like to. I mean, the weirdness of my own brain. I want to go back and look at how he did at trials because I'm curious how he did a couple years ago as opposed to what he's doing.
Yeah,
now.
the big developments he's made since being a black belt.
Yeah.
And kind of being on the bigger stage. So interesting. Do you have a pick here?
I'm gonna go Wiltsey.
I kind of want to go Wiltsey as well, although a win from Jimenez here, potentially even a sub from Jimenez here, wouldn't surprise me because Jimenez is got such an active style that he can blow anyone out of the water. But I think that Wiltsey's so steadfast in his ability to kind of maintain composure that would be very hard to do.
I think he's also used to it.
Yeah.
I think he's used to that pace of having somebody who's aggressive coming after you.
But I think aggressive and as good as Jimenez is a different kind of game animal. And he did well against Barch, but I think that Jimenez is going to come in. If Jimenez comes in as hard as we've seen Jimenez come in the past, it could be a different match. Although I think it's a difficult match for Jimenez to take. It's winnable for both guys, which is why I think it's exciting too.
I think the whole card is exciting because they're all winnable matches for either party. So.
Yeah, and it's in the ADCC rule set, which we don't see often.
Yeah.
So that's just that makes it even more exciting for me because we get a chance to talk about, and next week we'll have a much better handle on the rules, and you'll have a much better handle on the rules, so we can talk about it more effectively as opposed to sort of spitballing here with going through the rules. We'll probably do that next week. So it's exciting. I'm amped for this card. Do you have any other kind of closing thoughts on the card before we're going to move to the next one?
I think we'll move on.
We also got next week. Let's move into the preview of SUG 25. We have Pedro Mourinho versus Andy Varela as the main event. Somebody got injured. Mason Fowler got injured, rib injury, so he cannot take on Mourinho for the title. He's going to take on Bame too for the title.
Mm-hmm.
So that match has been scrapped, and they've replaced it with Pedro Mourinho versus Andy Varela. I think that's a really tough match for Varela, although with the weird SUG rules of only being 5 minutes and being that overtime, Varela is very good at both of those, although I think Mourinho is just so absolutely hard to beat. I am not picking against Mourinho, especially in a rule set where he can just blow out of the water so quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
We also have a team match, and we have we have two other matches. We have Edmund Najmi on the card versus Kennedy. I'm not familiar with Kennedy. I'm going to go with Najmi on that one. Again, it's a weird rule set, but
Najmi's been competing for such a long time.
Yeah.
He's so good. He knows how to implement his game plan, and I don't think we'll have any problem doing that in a short period of time.
Yeah, I'm a little worried with short period. Najmi typically does take a little time to set stuff up.
Does he warm up a little bit?
A little bit, but we've seen him chuck flying triangles for many a year now at a drop of a hat. So it's it's a very, very winnable match. We also have McKay versus Krikorian. Keith Krikorian now here at the East Coast. Yeah. I'm gonna always pick Krikorian in an EBI style rule set. Trained it for years. We've been covering them on them since Purple. So. Looking forward to seeing Keith again.
And I'm not really, I don't know McKay well enough to really,
same thing.
Say one thing or another. Yeah. But Krikorian has been doing this rule set for a long time, so he understands it. He knows what he needs to do. So I'm going to go with him also.
Yeah. So that does it for this week. I don't think we have any other. I hope we don't have any other events. I mean, that's a.
I don't think.
I think that's big ass list of events for this next week. Let me check the schedule one more time just to make sure. Just Road to ADCC. We have some other smaller events, and we have some more stuff coming up in the following weeks. But that does it for this week's show. You got anything fun planned this weekend? How's your trip to Pittsburgh?
It was okay. It was kind of boring. It's Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh.
I'm not a fan of Pittsburgh.
If you're from Pittsburgh, I'm sorry.
It's where
we
apologize.
Live. I also live in Baltimore, so I can't really don't really throw. It's one of those don't throw stones in a glass house kind of comments.
Yeah, I just don't like the drive out the turnpike.
It's like 4 hours, right?
Yeah, it drives me crazy.
I worked in Pittsburgh one day, and I drove from here to pick up a truck down in Hanover. Okay. Hanover to Pittsburgh. Worked in Pittsburgh. Drove back to Hanover. Drove back to the house in a single day.
Insanity.
And I was like, it was a 15-hour, more than 15-hour day, and I went, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah,
that was the sewer job. I'm like, what am I doing?
Don't do that to yourself.
That's terrible. That's the only time. That's the only time I've ever in Pittsburgh was that one day of just what is this drive? It's like I drove 11 hours for work today.
I've been to a few concerts out in Pittsburgh, and nothing's ever really made me happy.
This is the outro section, just shitting on places that we don't live.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. They have some fun fights out there occasionally. Props to you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
They have fun crowds too, which is cool.
Yeah,
but.
I'm going to New York tomorrow, so I'm going to hit the train up to New York, which will be fun.
Nice. You doing training?
Yeah, I'm going to do, well, I have to I have to do the family thing at Harry Potter World, which I say the family thing, but really, in all honesty, I'm going to enjoy it more probably than my kid.
Good.
So we're doing the Harry Potter thing, and then I'm going to stop by Marcelo's probably Wednesday and Thursday.
They're open again?
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
awesome.
open. So I'm thinking I'm going to go Wednesday night class and then Thursday if I can survive both days.
If you see Deniz, please do not tell him I picked against him. I would appreciate if you didn't tell him that.
No, I don't plan to.
Hey, man, the guy you interviewed once. Yeah.
So
he picked
if you're from the gym and you just see me,
please don't tell.
Like some random ginger shows up, just don't say that I said.
So you got a fun week. I have nothing planned this week.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna edit and like do some other stuff and do PT. I have a follow up for surgery this week as well. My surgeon's gonna be like, "Yep, we did back surgery on you. You still good?" I'm like, "I'm in some pain still." They're like, "Yeah, that happens.
Yep.
Get better. Do PT." I'll go, "Thanks, guys."
Yep. And that's
literally the most excitement of my week is like I'm doing some time lapse stuff. I'm gonna release the time lapse video probably today or tomorrow.
Okay.
And then the follow up for surgery and PT, which is just like, all right, very slowly getting better, and that's exciting. But I gotta like put the brakes on it because I'm gonna hurt myself if I get too excited.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to push back too fast.
Yeah, so that's that. All right, well, that does it for this week's show. As always in the podcast, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats whenever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.